Hello everyone and welcome aboard. This is Vacosties of the Dark Edge of Light with a brand new series where we're first going to explore the mechanics of Disgaea 5 and then randomly do various worlds and stuff in Disgaea 5. Just because it's one of the only things my brain can currently focus on right now. Which is very, very bad for everybody, including myself, because this place is one twisted and weird world. So, quick little overview of Disgaea in general. The verse is basically all set in the Netherworld, where demons are the good guys and non-demons are the bad guys. The angels are bad, demons are good, you know, kind of a fun little flip on its head thing. And in the history of Disgaea, they've always had something to tie each game together. So, way back in Disgaea 1, you were helping Laharl try to reclaim all of the lands that he ruled. In Disgaea 2, you were trying to help Adele prevent his world from staying demonic and basically drive the demons out. The only one to prominently feature a actual human protagonist. In Disgaea 3, you took on the role of Mao, the young man who would be Demon Lord, and was doing so by becoming a student in the Netherworld Academy. And in Disgaea 5, you were Lord Valvatorez, a vampire who subsisted on the blood of sardines and did everything that he could to prevent the Prinnies from being abused. And now in Disgaea 5, you're on the campaign of vengeance to take vengeance upon some demon lord somewhere, while simultaneously becoming the lord of all the demon realms. So, you know, it's fairly classic concepts. However, the gameplay is anything but trite. So the basic gameplay takes place in various stages of worlds, represented here by the Dimension Guide, which we're not going to do any of because that's storyline missions, and frankly, I'm going to let you all experience those yourselves. We might do replays of some of the maps later on, where the stories don't actually happen, because you can go back and find treasure on previous maps through doing certain specific things. However, the real meat and potatoes of the game actually is in what originally could have almost been considered a side game, but really is the main game of Disgaea, and that is Item World and Kara World. So, one of the big parts of how Disgaea works is that you get to level up everything. Not just your people, but all the weapons and armaments they cover. Heck, you can level up a potion and make it heal more, okay? Now, what's the point of this? Well, that's really where you get to do a lot of your grinding for experience, mana, stuff to level up with, gold, and of course, more items. So, Disgaea sort of just goes off the rails once you start that part, because you literally could end up playing more in this game than in any other game in existence, because it's all procedurally generated dungeons, and while the gameplay is pretty much all the same, it never stops presenting at least some form of challenge. Even once you hit the highest levels, there are new things you can do in order to give yourself a challenge, and there are still things out there that can one-shot you, so it's never something that's ever going to become completely easy. And if you get bored of that, well, you can go and try and invade other people's worlds and then have to take on player characters that have all the same strengths that you do. So yeah, there's a lot out there in this game. So what we're going to do is the first few episodes, I'm going to talk about the mechanics of the game, how things work as far as the characters, items, and everything else go. And then I'm just going to randomly do item world dives until my brain starts to bleed or reset, because that's one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this series, is because it's one of the only things I can currently focus on with my current mental state. So yeah, that's pretty much the long and the short of it, as I just go hopping all over the base. Oh yeah, and this is one of the other things you can do, is you can literally just go anywhere you want on your base. And once I get a little bit further into the storyline, I'll even be able to make my base and change it up, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to. Alright. Alright, so here we go. So to start off, let's look at characters. Now, characters are absolutely ridiculous in this game, okay? You've got your main character in this game, Killia. He is just called a Wanderer. He doesn't really have his own class stuff. But we're just going to quickly take a little look over what everything means in here, okay? So, as you see, you've got your portrait over on the left, you've got a name, you've got your standard, you know, character sheet, like attack, move, all that fun stuff. You've got your equipment down there, which of course you can change up. The reason some of the equipment is flashing is because it's legendary type. You've got your resistances and your weapon masteries. Now, weapon masteries are kind of important, and this is part of where the game starts to get complicated, because every human or non-monster character, I should say, because technically everybody is a demon with a few exceptions. But every non-monster character has weapon masteries, and this basically shows how good they are at using their particular weapon. But you'll notice not only do you have a proficiency like A, B, or C, but you've also got a level next to said proficiency, which shows how much you've used that weapon and also unlocks special attacks for said weapons. That's right, some of your skills are based on what weapon you're carrying, which is really, really weird. And then you've also got aptitudes down in the middle right there that show how much of different stats from your various equipment you actually get. So yeah, you can even get more stat boosts out of your equipment than just what's listed. Next over, we've got abilities. This is one of the really complex things about this particular game. So, every character gets unique abilities and then abilities that you can learn through being classes, or in the case of the main characters that have unique classes, you can actually act as if you were another class for the purpose of ability growth and learn their abilities. So in this case, his character ability is War Demon. He gets 2% more stats every time he attacks on a map, which is absolutely insane. Chi Charging, he increases his attack range for normal attacks by 1 panel when he's equipped with a fist, so he can attack 2 panels away. And Mana Maniac. Mana's the thing that lets you buy skills and improve skills, so he gains more of that. If we move over, so these are your actual special attacks. So the thing here is you've got Exploding Tiger, which is a unique ability. You've got these fist abilities, which are because he uses a fist as his attack. And then tower abilities and squad attacks. Which, frankly, the squad attacks are a lot of fun, and we'll get into squads in the next episode. This is a quick look at a squad where you can see he has various members in that squad, and yes, anybody who's read the Dresden Files will recognize that I'm actually using both Dresden and my various circle of gamer pals, gamer tags for a lot of my character names. This is where you can learn different classes and the abilities assigned to them, even as a regular, ordinary, quote-unquote human or non-monster. And then in here are some of the stats. So each unit will literally show you total reincarnation level, because that's the total level of your character, including any times that you've reincarnated back to level 1 to level up more. Enemies you've killed, allies you've killed, times you've reincarnated, max damage, total damage, and death count. So how many times has that character died? The main character, you don't usually let die, so that's why he still has a 0. And as you can see, I've got a lot of characters. All the guys we've seen so far, all the way down to Render Z here, are actually unique characters. They don't exist anywhere else because they can't exist anywhere else. They are part of the core character group. And then after that, we've got all my created characters that we'll go a little more in depth as we go on that. And then, starting here, we actually have some of the monsters. So what does all of this mean? Well, basically the flow of the game becomes level your characters up in the various worlds, then come back here to this world get everybody tuned back up, buy skills and abilities if you want to, or just head right back into leveling up various worlds. Rinse, lather, repeat, and have a blast. However, the next thing we need to go into is levels, because there's a lot of different things in Disgaea that would count to most people as levels. But Disgaea actually differentiates between different bits and pieces of it. So first off, you've got your character level, okay? That's the level your character is currently on this incarnation, not any other incarnation, just this first one, or whichever one you're currently on. Then if you go inside the character, of course, you've got that thing we talked about, your actual total reincarnation level. That's actually important for some things. But that's not the only thing. You've also got the level of your weapon mastery, okay, so how skilled you are with a particular weapon. And then we come to skills. Now, skills really get ridiculous, okay? So there's a bunch of different things you can have a skill as. First off, you can have the level of the skill. For instance, Exploding Tiger is currently level 13. Triple Strike is currently level 1, and the experience bar there will actually level said skills up. However, you've also got the power of said skill, and you've actually got its rank. Now, to see a little bit more of that, let's go over to the skill broker. This is one of the things that things get a little weird on, because you see, I can do a lot of different things here. I could increase the power of the skill right now from D+ to E, but that would greatly increase the spell points that I would use for using that ability once. Now conversely, the actual level listed there under the spell does something a little different. Instead of increasing the mana cost and all, that directly increases the damage and everything else that that item is doing without increasing the SP. So basically you have the power or rank of the skill, and then the level or how much you've used the skill. But then we can go over to spell slingers and it becomes even more complicated. Let's go on over to Dresden here. So here's Dresden, and as you see here, we've got a lot of different things we can do to a spell, because spells can actually have an area. So if I click into fire here, okay, I could have changed the range of the spell if I wanted to, giving it even more different ranges and options, which I can't do currently because I don't have the mana. It would actually take a ton of mana to do that. I could weaken it so it's easier to cast, or enhance its power further so that it's harder to cast but deals more damage directly. But at the same time, I also have that level that I can do, which just means I've got to cast it a lot. Now, one of the balancing acts once you start actually doing grind in this game is actually finding that balance of being able to use the spell enough to level it up, but not run out of mana by using it on targets that aren't actually going to get you somewhere. While at the same time, there's the difficult fact that those targets, if you don't kill them, you don't get as much experience towards the spell or skill that you're using. So it becomes a very, very long and tedious balancing act. So, some of the other things that we'll take a look at quickly in this episode is just basically where things are or what things are in the base world here. And then next round, we'll actually start taking a look at, well, how battle works and all of that. And we'll start doing a few item world runs until we get so used to it that I just start blazing through and really just showing off my abilities as best I can. So as we talked about before, here's the skill marm. Now, the skill person, you can get a couple different things. You can strengthen skills, which we just looked at. You can also learn abilities. So these, again, are those things that make each type of character unique, but can also really trick out characters. For example, I currently have unlocked the ability to get all the way up to Reliable Ally, where literally anytime he actually is involved in a combo attack, which specifically is multiple characters all attacking the same enemy in a chain, okay? In those situations, I go 100% extra attack, which just makes me absolutely crush someone. And as you can see, everybody's got different mana. I've got a couple people at 0 because I just reincarnated them before starting these videos. Or you can convert an ability that you don't want anymore into actual mana, which to me seems kind of silly. If you're going to get an ability, you might as well stick with it.
Welcome.
Next up is the item store, which everybody is Rosing Queen Co. and has been throughout all of the games. This is where you can buy restoratives and that kind of thing. Fairly straightforward. And every time you go in, which this is one of the tricks to cycle merchandise, they carry different stuff.
Welcome.
Then we go to equipment. Now this is different from items because items are restoratives. Equipment are actual weapons. Okay? And they include a lot of different things, including, you know, shoes, defensive items, and then the various kinds of weapons.
Welcome.
Oh yeah, over here in items, you've also got usable items. Cha-ching hands are for stealing, while these are actual thrown weapons. There we go. Up here we've got the quest master. Now this dude's job is basically to give you different quests. And there's a bunch of different stuff you can do. You know, achieve different levels of things. You know, basically the first time you get certain attack levels, damage levels, master a skill, get to certain weapon mastery levels. Talk to certain numbers of citizens, get certain kills, that kind of stuff. Which actually, that kind of looks amusing. Should take that one. And can't accept anymore. So you can also review quests you're currently on over here. And as you can see here, I'm actually currently working on getting a couple people leveled up so that I can get a couple very specific people. I'm looking to get the Sage at this point, who is one of the various character classes. Alright. Over here's the hospital. This place is really important because when you come back from doing either regular levels or item worlds, you come over here and you heal everybody. And every now and then, they give you a prize just for getting people hurt and needing to heal them. It's kind of horrendous, but it sort of talks about, you know, the entirety of this game. Now over here are squads, and like I said, we're going to go a little deeper into squads next round. But basically what squads are different groups that are able to work together inside of the various areas here, allowing you to become more powerful. Now, the nice thing about squads in this one is that it's not as much defined anymore by a map like it used to be. Used to be there was a whole separate zone you went into in order to arrange everybody. They've removed that with squads in this game, but it still is kind of beneficial to at least keep an eye on who's in what squads, and we'll get into more of why a little later. This is what's going to be the other major part of episode number 2 is Innocence. We're going to talk about this place a lot more next round, but for right now, just know that's where the Innocence shop is. And then there's Research. Now this lets you send characters out that you're not necessarily going to take into the actual game areas with you, in order to gain them experience and get yourself more fun stuff. Which, as you can see, I've got some 100%. Some of them are done. Some of them aren't. And there's a couple different types, too. Like, that one actually belongs to someone else. So at this point, I could actually send some people out, and they could have some fun out there. See what they can pull off. So why don't we do that just as a little bit of an example here so you can check out what happens when they come back. There we go. Now let's send him, and a couple of these guys here. Arinder Z and Geese. That looks good to me. Send them out, see what they can do. Now right now I can actually send a couple different groups out. And I should also probably go over to the Nether Research and complete another one, but that's alright. We'll go to that next time. Down here you actually have cheats, which is not exactly what it sounds like. Basically what the cheats are is it lets you adjust how the game works. Now, there are a few things you can do, like you can turn on harder modes, which, oh my god, why would you ever do that? As an example, you can make it so you can't... yeah. Basically, you can make it so you can't gain experience, can't gain mana, or can't gain money. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that. Same with Mastery, Special Skill, Class Mastery, and Revenge. Odd things here, you can't cancel any actions in battle, so it sort of makes it like a no turning back concept. This, you can't get any bonus list items. Why would you ever want to do that? And this would prevent it so that you can't actually take enemies when they surrender, so I don't see why you want to do that. These are just sort of goofy things. This one makes everybody squeak, which I don't know why'd do it. Everyone's a bomb, yeah, so throwing people has problems, so you don't want to do that. And risky business, yeah, turn on to boost discovery and collapse rate on expeditions. I mean, that's kind of cool, but it makes things a little tougher, too. This is one of the interesting ones. You can actually turn up the level of enemies in the game. So one of the neat things about this is it can really actually give a lot more late game content, because as your team starts to grow more and more, even low-level items can become challenges for you. Boss floor forever, you can't actually skip the boss floors. Now, I actually have that one turned on. It won't let me actually skip the boss floor, that way I actually have to do it. I can't accidentally move past it. And we can use your Netherworlds I haven't turned on at this point, so we're going to leave that at this point. But this is one of the really neat places. Right now, I'm getting less money, okay, because basically as the game progresses, you're able to adjust these more. So I'm getting less money, but I'm gaining more experience and mana. So my characters level faster, which is nice, but I don't get as much money. But that's okay, because I play enough that I can get a lot of money when I need it. The other little bits and pieces before we head to the next episode. Over here we've got the curry spot, and this literally lets you take 2 or even more bits and pieces of curry. And you can make my own original curry? Let's do it. Main ingredient. So let's see, we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna throw a heel scroll in, just because I can, and a driftwood bow. There we go. We're going to make that curry. And in a moment, we'll find out what it does for us. Basically, it lasts until the next time we come back. Has attack up and mana gain up effect. We're going to eat that curry. Boom. So basically, we get more mana and we attack harder. The next map we go into. Over here, this dude lets you get more characters. This lets you see a record of all movies and such you've seen. This lets you see a record of everything you've done. This is the ever-important Congress, which we're going to talk about next round. And this is the interrogation room, which we'll talk about after we do our first map. And those are some of the basics. Next time we'll dive a little bit deeper into things. But as always, I am Vacosties of the Dark Edge of Light, and you're watching the start of my primer into Disgaea 5, which will lead into random, sort of, pseudo-let's plays. As always, you can find links to both my social media and the social media of the Dark Edge of Light in the description down below. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Drop me a like, subscribe, and as always, game on.